I have my wine, I look fabulous, I feel fabulous. Let's talk about how I produced my song, Wild Woman.
Now I'm your remedy, that's a B.O.P. Loving so recklessly. When I'm called jealousy, not someone that I need, leaving you helplessly.
Hi, I'm Jordyn Tareaz. If you're new here, if you're not, hey girl, good to see you. Oh my God, it's so good to see you. You look fabulous. This is like the first ever long form production breakdown I'm ever doing, but it won't be the last because yeah, I love to produce. So this is the session. And then I just dragged in the background and the lead vocal because I like to record those in a separate project. I'm gonna be honest. Compared to my other songs, vocal production and arrangement wise for the backgrounds, pretty simple. We'll still go through it, but I really want to talk about the production itself because this track was a joy to make. I had so much fun making this track. Mind you, it came after multiple many months of not doing anything music because I was in a hard place, and we could talk about that and spill all the tea in another video. But I just wanted something fun. I wanted something club. I wanted something party. I wanted something that I could just, feel hot and sexy to. I started this song in November. November 16th is officially Wild Woman birth. Well, actually, no, she was conceived November 16th because she was released June 13th. All right. So let's start at the very beginning. In another video, I said the first thing I had was the strings. I yied. Sorry. The first thing is I had this idea for the guitar lick, like the don't, I was just like, oh, that sounds so cool. So I quickly just did it just in MIDI guitar just so I can have it. Eventually, I went in and I layered some live guitar in there too, just to, have it feeling a little bit more full. So it was like this. And that just added a little bit more grit to it. But before I even recorded the live guitar, I had just the little guitar lick and I was like, okay, bitch, how are we gonna get from that to the rest of the song, right? So I usually like to build up the hook first because I'm a pop girl. I'm a hook writer. That's definitely my strengths, writing hooks and writing melody. I know I can body it. I know I can make something catchy as fuck, sticky as fuck, so it's stuck in your head. Like, if it's by Jordyn Tareaz, it's stuck in your motherfucking head, okay? So after I had the guitar lick, I was like, okay, I need chords. Because also I learned on the piano, like I've been playing my entire life. I learned to write songs on the piano, writing ballads. So I need a good chord. A lot of my songs that are upbeat, despite it being a club track or an upbeat song, I write it on the piano. And then I just make it, upbeat feeling with the drums and all of that stuff. So after I had the guitar, I went and I did the strings. I love strings. I love doing strings. I grew up doing musical theater, so I love the regality of strings. I love the cinematic theatrical sound. But I've also always loved guitar. I started my career playing house shows in dirty basements with shitty, speakers and shit like that. So I love that rugged guitar feel as well. And I feel like my music is like an ode to both sides, like the underground gritty side and like the regal, like glam cinematic theater side of music as well. So I feel like, especially in this, chapter where I'm really taking control of how my music sounds, it's like bringing those two worlds together. So next I did the strings, and I just kind of laid down what I felt would be really nice chords. And these chords kind of go throughout like basically the entire song. It's just like the simplest changes. And it's such a nice contrast from what we have going on here in the guitar. I'll play both of them together so you can hear it. So once I had that, I was like, at this point in the process, I started just writing what the hook would sound like. I'm gonna do a separate video about the songwriting specifically because I feel like the backstory behind the song and the concept is really, really interesting as well. And I think it's kind of unexpected from what people might think it's about. But yeah, once I had the strings and the guitar, I wrote the lyrics to the hook and the chorus, and I did like a melody pass throughout the whole song. I am always once I have chords or a concept, I just go right into the booth and melody pass. Once I had the strings and I had the guitar, I went back to the beginning and I was like, okay, like how do we get there, right? Melodically. I think the biggest thing with the song, I was debating whether I want to keep the energy up the entire time and like have the song start right with the 4 on the floor and kind of give that energy, or if I wanted it to like build into that. I'm usually one to make my songs build because again, I like that theatrical, like the tension between the quiet moments and the big moments and all of those things. So that is something that I did. But once we talk about the drums specifically, I'll get more into how I played around with the tension there. But basically what I just kind of went through, and this wasn't all in one setting, like this was, you know, I kind of played around how I wanted the orchestra to flow in and out of the track, but I kind of just, you know, decided how I wanted to like create this little orchestra. So I did this with like tremolo and like sliding up and sliding down, and this is what it sounds like. And you can hear to make like the, you know, kind of transition elements. I had like the tremolo leading into the slide up and slide down, which I thought would be a really nice transitional piece. And also just adds like a little bit more edge to the more orchestral moments in the song. Once I had that, like the strings and the guitar are really like the biggest pieces of the song, right? So once I had those strings, I was able to go back to, I think this is the second verse, right? So then afterwards I was able to build out what the strings would look like in the second verse, which is quite similar, but it's, you know, you want to build with each section. So there's a little bit more. The biggest changes are really the accented strings, and I did double so I could pan them hard left and hard right just to make it a little more full. And you hear with each like kind of hit, it's a little bit more and growing to make it feel even fuller. Once I had all of the strings, I felt really good because I had, you know, like the foundation, the guitar, the string, those are both really big parts of the song. I'm a big 808 girl. I love me some 808s in everything. Even some of my ballads have 808s. Cause I don't know, I love it. And I love the feeling of like the rumbling when you're driving in the car listening to it. So with the 808, I wanted it to feel full, but I still wanted it to have like a movingness to it. And that's something that I also played around with the arpeggiated synth. And that's kind of how it is throughout the entire song. To also make the song like really move along, I played with this arpeggiated synth. I do remember when I was making this playing around with the synths a lot. Cause I was like, how, you know, electric or 2010s Gaga, like campy do I want it to make it feel? Or do I want it to feel more like gritty and like gross and thick and nasty? Or like, there's so many things that you can do with a synth. And because I already had 808s, like there was like a lot potentially I could play around with. But this is what I landed on. The synth is pretty much the same throughout the entire song. And you can hear, not only is it kind of arpeggiated and like pulsing throughout to give it a really nice texture, towards the end of the phrasing, it kind of like warps a little bit, which I thought was really nice and would help separate it from it just being like an arpeggiated synth. Like that's so blah, like, you know, it is, nah, you know, make it a little bit more interesting. The part that I added that I really felt the song come alive and feel really, really nice and big was the brass. When I tell you, when I first started making this song, like, I would have never thought that we would have a whole trumpet section, but I needed something to play with the electric guitar section and make all of that stuff feel so much more anthemic and just big and like in your face. And as a former trumpet player myself, bet you didn't know that, I was like, yeah, that's what we need here. We need a little bit of brass. So this is how that sounds. It added so much. It was a great call, if I do say so myself. Once I had all of this stuff, I had a loose foundation of what the drums would look like while I was doing this. The drums, that was the thing that like, it was like literally the day I was sending it to my engineer to mix and master it. Shout out Colleen. And I was literally changing the kicks the day of, because I am a kick snob, okay? If I'm listening to a song and I can't stand the kick, whether it's too muffled or it's not in the mix enough, like that really drives me crazy. So I had a hard time figuring out exactly what timbre I wanted it. But before I even went through that, it was figuring out what drum pattern I wanted to do, because I have never done anything to a 4 on the floor. So we have a couple different kicks in here. This is what it's sounding like at the guitar hook part. You can hear we have almost like a grace note kick, right, into the regular 4 on the floor, which I thought would add a little bit more texture and make it a little bit more interesting than just a regular 4 on the floor. And we also have this kick. And it kind of resembles like a heartbeat of some sort. And then at the end of the song, the very last chorus, I opted to go for a little breakdown moment with the kick. So it's just like halftime. Because we do the chorus 3 times, each time you want to bring a little something different into it. So that's how the kick sounded. And then I also played around with claps, which I don't usually do. Due to the nature of the song, I feel like we needed a clap, right? So this is how it sounds like with the kicks and the claps and the hook. And I have 2 claps here. I think one of them I actually reversed the clap to give it more of like a bigger, grander feeling. But yeah, one is like much more like tightened together, and the other one is like it kind of like explodes. There are no hi-hats in the like hook part. It's just in like the pre/chorus part. But in this section, we don't have the claps. And this is the wild, 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 wild woman part of the song. And then we get into the hook that has the claps. So I'm gonna play these parts just so you can hear all the things that we were talking about. Nice. All right, now moving on to the vocals. It was really simple. Like, that's why I'm not making a video just breaking down the BBs and stuff, because it was so simple. Because it is like a dancey club track, it was mostly just like, And then one thing I did do that was really fun and interesting was I added a vocoder throughout different sections as well. And And you can hear the vocoder just adding another texture to it. And something that I like to do with these types of tracks is I will actually put my vocals through an instrument to give it more of a crunchy feel, a little bit more robotic feel, all of those things. I think I plugged my vocals either through strings and a synth. I think, methinks, if I remember correctly. That's what I usually do. This is what different parts of the lead and the background sound together.
Now I'm your remedy, that's a B.O.P. Nothing so reckless. When you go jealousy, not someone better than me, leaving you happy. 'Cause I'm a wild.
Even the processing on my lead vocal is chill. A little bit of verb here. I have doubles. Very light on the ad libs. Like, I think there's only like a couple ad libs I did for this song. That riff is actually a fun one. I just felt like we needed a transitional moment, and I was like, babe, what's better than a fucking riff than transition, especially for like a club track? Like, you don't get those fun vocal moments as often when it comes to like riffs and runs and all of that. So I thought that would be cool. And I go pretty high in it too. Just about finished my glass of wine, so bitch, I think we're officially done here. Hope you enjoy. Check out Wild Woman. Stay tuned for more music from yours truly. Go get yourself some goodies from the Jordyn Tareaz shop. Yeah. Bye. Love you. Mwah.